The Stitchwraith is a new animatronic introduced in the Fazbear Frights books, starting with the epilogue of Into the Pit and continuing in the epilogue for each new installment. While an excellent marketing strategy, it's also one of the scariest animatronics out there, collecting body parts and killing its creator after a series of experiments with human emotion, but most importantly, Agony, the most intense emotion that actually creates remnant. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host Connor Monroe, and please stop sending me Buff Helpy on Instagram, okay? No. The Stitchwraith is the new most mysterious character in the FNAF series, and today we set out to give you the information that you need to create your own theories. So that's what we explore with today's list of the top 10 Scary Stitchwraith Facts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't yet so we can just get started. And at 10, the missing link. There have been so many additional mysteries that were added in the Fazbear Frights books, but they're all actually connected. And the reason we know that they're all connected is because of the Stitchwraith. The Stitchwraith is literally the link connecting a whole load of the stories together. And not just from the new books, but the original trilogy as well as the games can all be tied back to the Stitchwraith. He was made with a battery from Fetch, his creator was looking for an Ella doll from To Be Beautiful that was made by Henry. He is the missing link in all of the continuity of these stories, and whatever comes next I'm sure we'll learn more about him. I mean, there is a little bit of him in every body. Wait. And at 9, Agony beyond power of speech. The stories of the Stitchwraith actually help us to understand how animatronics get possessed on a better level. At first we just thought it was the normal way that possession works. Is there a normal way? Well, we just thought, you know, kid gets killed, kid gets put in the suit, and then kid possesses that suit because, yeah. But now, we know that they're actually possessed by Agony. According to Phineas, the creator of the Stitchwraith, Agony is the most intense human emotion, and it reaches out further than any other emotion. And that it's used by the animatronics because, you know, they were killed as children in their favorite pizza joint by a golden Bonnie. So Agony is a pretty reasonable feeling. The way we understand Remnant and how it works will help us understand more mysteries in the long run, and knowing about how Phineas was experimenting with human emotion just puts us one step closer to solving the entirety of FNAF. At least if Scott doesn't keep adding more mysteries. We know he will. Too much money. Making bank. Oh man, I wish I had something as profitable as this. And at 8, not entered. At first, based on the description of a white mask and such, we thought that the Stitchwraith had to be entered. The combination of the Funtime animatronics as well as Baby and Ballora. But after seeing the creation in the epilogue of 1:35 AM, we now know indeed that it's not entered, even though it claims to look fairly similar. But this brings up an interesting idea. Why do they look so similar? I'm gonna move off the whole facts thing for a second and get into a little speculation. Why are the two characters so similar, at least when described? Perhaps Phineas knew about Ennard and got inspired by its appearance, or if the Stitchwraith came first, I guess it could be that Ennard got inspiration from the Stitchwraith, or maybe rumors or stories William told, I don't know, okay? It calls for a lot of weird jumping, and it's very weird until we know more about the timeline of the games and the books and how they work together, and like, you know. It's weird, but it's not entered. There's your fact. And at 7, epilogue. Each Fazbear Fright story comes with an extra one thrown in there for good measure, like 3 normal stories and then the part of a bigger one that's expanding over all 7 books in the series. These epilogues are the stories, and yes, they explain everything about the Stitchwraith, or at least some of it. It starts in Into the Pit and continues on to the other books. They don't necessarily go in order, but the gist of these stories so far is the creation of the Stitchwraith and then its mission to gather body parts. As it does in To Be Beautiful, when Baby hacks apart a girl in order to steal her identity. We don't really know what it's planning yet, but we can assume it's nothing good because, like, you know, it's FNAF. And at 6, key player. Like I said, each of the Fazbear Frights books has an epilogue chapter that tells a story about the Stitchwraith. But what I didn't mention is the fact that the Stitchwraith itself is actually a plot point in many of these stories. For example, in To Be Beautiful, Baby ends up cutting a girl into like chunks, or like something like that. She just dismembers like robotic body parts or something, you know, like limbs and stuff. And then those body parts are collected by the Stitchwraith. In Fetch, the battery used to operate the Fetch dolls also gets used to power the Stitchwraith. And the creator of the Stitchwraith, Phineas, was looking for an Ella doll that appeared in the story about the girl who had a divorce and never got the family she wanted and eventually died in an event. I don't remember the name of that one, but like, the Stitchwraith is omnipresent in the Fazbear Frights books, similarly to how Thanos was in the MCU Infinity Saga, since he was behind the attack on New York in the first Avengers movie, and like he was like manipulating things from the background. It's like how the Stitchwraith is manipulating situations to end in its favor. At least that's what it looks like to me. 1:35 AM, that's the story. Yes, that's it, 1:35 AM. Halfway through at number 5, Born This Way. My mama told me when I was young, don't kill your creator. Well, obviously, the Stitchwraith never got that lesson, probably because he didn't have the time. After being created, the Stitchwraith immediately decides to off Phineas, which makes me think of this as potentially a symbol for Henry. We know that Henry died via an animatronic thanks to FNAF World, but the similarities between the two stories are strong, and while yes, we don't know much about this creature's origins, it could be a hint to what's coming next. People say that nobody is born evil, but they've obviously never heard of a bloodthirsty murder bot who instantly kills their creator. Or an antichrist. Hi. In at 4, Appearance. The appearance of the Stitchwraith was a point of confusion in the past, described as a mysterious figure in a black cloak with a white mask and features drawn on in black marker, one eye blacked out, a big toothy grin with blood around the mouth, who's staggering and limps while walking. That made everyone, or at least me, think of Ennard, who shows similar character traits, aside from the whole lives in a dark cloak thing, but to be fair, anyone can grab one, especially with the affordable prices of today's sponsor. I'm just kidding. Although Cloak did release FNAF merch, and they didn't call me, so I'm kind of insulted. I mean, like, I'm reppin', you know. Cloak, hit me up. But the creepy appearance has made him be compared to Ennard, which would just be interesting, but it would mean that, like, Ennard didn't create himself, and that he wasn't actually a combination of the sister location animatronics, and, like, it's not true, but this is because of, in at 3, his origins. The origin of the Stitchwraith is outlined fairly simply in the 3rd FNAF Frights book, 135 AM. At least I think it's that one. No matter, we get to learn the whole origin of the Stitchwraith, proving to us that this character is new and not someone we've seen before, like Ennard. Using the battery for Fetch and the Agony from L, Dr. Phineas Taggart was experimenting with human emotion, saying that it emanates from us and soaks into our surroundings, claiming that Agony is the most powerful and reaches out the furthest from us, and that Agony is what really haunts objects in animatronics. The FNAF 1 or 2 era endoskeleton was found by Phineas and infused with the Agony from the Ella doll. Then he puts a head on it from a 3-foot tall doll, which if you're looking for a visual, think like Blank from Five Nights at Candy's. He adds a battery pack and turns it on. As he does, he gets killed instantly, potentially by accident, but nevertheless it happens, and then the Stitchwraith leaves under a black cloak. It's creepy, it's haunting, and it's extremely interesting, so I look forward to learning more. There's like 3 more books coming out or something like that? 3 or 4-ish. And a 2, Potential Identity. Now, we don't really know who the Stitchwraith is. We don't know if we've seen the character already, but we can be pretty sure that we haven't. However, we can think about its potential identities for the Wraith. So, who could this be? Well, it could be the animatronic that kills Henry. I know, but Baby was the one who killed Henry. Things change. And this could be the one who does it in another universe, or at least the endoskeleton was used for the animatronic that killed Henry. At least in the books, this endoskeleton is described as being unfinished, unlike the scene from FNAF World where everyone thinks that it's Baby. This could be the way the Stitchwraith gets tied back to the books, and this could be tied back to the games later on too. I mean, book number 5 is called Bunny Call, and it features a story about a man with gruesome burns all over his body, and an iron will to live. So, come on, I think we all know who that is. I always come back. Finally, in at number 1, Mystery. The scariest thing about this character is just how mysterious he really is. We don't know what he wants. Sure, we know how he was created, but that's the only thing. We don't know about his motives, we don't know about his goals, we don't know why he's collecting body parts, we don't know what he's planning on doing. And the unknown is probably the scariest thing in existence. You're scared of heights. That's because you don't know what you'll feel while falling. You're scared of being alone in the dark? Well, that's because you don't know what's hiding in the shadows. You're scared of that man who seems to be following you because you don't know his motives or if he's really following you. The unknown is the root of all fears. Once you know something, it isn't as scary anymore. That's why they say face your fears to get over them, because once you understand it, you won't be as scared. You'll still potentially be scared, but you won't be as scared. But we know nothing about the Stitchwraith, and that's why so far they're the scariest character of them all. There we have it, friends, the top 10 scary FNAF Stitchwraith facts. What do you want to know about the Stitchwraith, and is there anything else I could include if we made a part 2? Let me know down below, and speaking of that, let's read out some comments from a previous video. Or previous videos. It's multiple. Chris K said, "Praise Lord Jesus." Praise Lord Jesus indeed. I see we have an enlightened one among us. Grandfather Clock says, "We're all deranged child killers in our own way." I think I just scored a yearbook quote. They won't let you do that. They wouldn't let me say that high school is 4 years of hell, so I don't think they'll let you say that we're all deranged child killers. But if that does work, you know, let me know. Eve Fauna says, "Sweet baby Jesus W. Christ, why did that make me laugh?" because it's specific. Also because it kind of sounds like a cereal or like something like that. It sounds like a barbecue sauce. Honestly, I would eat it. Pop-Tart Launcher says this is all cringe. That's my brand, man. You don't make it onto r/FNAF cringe by being normal, okay? That was like our first FNAF video and it got onto r/FNAF cringe, okay? Do you think we're going down from here or up, I guess, in your opinion? For me, it would be going down. r/FNAF cringe. They know who I am now. That's all the time we have for comments this time. Thank you for sticking around until the end. If you did, comment trippy toddlers. I don't know why, just do it. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.